Hi, and thank you for watching TargetedWest.com. This is DJ Chris. This is show number 58. It's Sunday, 5/7/2023, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Shiloh Taylor. Her website is shilohtaylor.com. We are a peaceful work group. We're all trying to figure out, most of us, why we have this telepathy in our heads and why we're being targeted with directed energy weapons. I'm in Lodi right now at 67 degrees, and we're ready to go. And we're not violent or spewing out violence or any supremacist groups. We're just a work group trying to figure out why we have terrorists in our head. Anyway, hello, Shiloh Taylor. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Great to be here.
Thank you for coming on again. This is Shiloh Taylor's second interview with us. And she's a former congressional staffer and a entertainer, cannabis advocate, and she wants to discuss basically the new church committee, the RESTRICT Act, and the FISA court drama. So did you, speaking of craziness, did you see that article I posted? I can't remember exactly what I posted, but it had to do with the RESTRICT Act, and it was on activist posts. So I tried to copy you on it, but it wouldn't let me.
I probably did. I look at most of your stuff, and so I can't recall it right off the bat, but I did want to start with the RESTRICT Act because that's sort of kind of fallen off of everyone's radar here as far as taking any action on it. And so I can't see that the House has picked anything up on it. It's still in the Senate right now. It's not up on the voting schedule. It's not been referred to committee. It's not been moved at all. And so I think that it was so unpopular right now that they're going to just put a hold on it. But I do believe that later on this will come out where they've had time to work through this bill, and it's not going to go away. But as of this point, it's not been referred to committee. The House hasn't seemed to take up any other type of actions on it or on their own bill or anything to move this forward. So that's pretty good news on that, other than expect something. But at this point, it's sort of dead in the water. I was more excited about the new FISA Section 702 drama. And it looks like this is a no-go with a lot of the House members who are not going to renew this without it being looked into, changed. It's been called a non-starter by Darren LaHood, who is now leading a subcommittee on this, and he's told the FBI director that no violations are defensible. There's a few House members that are not willing to renew it at all. And so it's really, this is, to me, the hot potato right now. I think that as targeted individuals, we need to jump on this action that's going on with the oversight committees. The subcommittee that's been created over this renewal of Section 702 and the problems from the FBI is called the Crime and Federal Government Surveillance Subcommittee. So you can just Google that or research, DuckDuckGo or whatever you use, House Judiciary Committee, Crime and Federal Government Surveillance. And they are, at this point, looking into what's been the misuse of the 702. And so as targeted individuals, this is one of the key legislative pieces that is allowing them to do this. There's more than one, but this is a very important one that pushing for representatives and, chairmen of these committees. I'm hoping to set up something that is, moving on to a church committee, but I'll go into that a little bit later. But right now, this is a hot issue, and that is great for us.
That's good to know. Yeah, the FISA court started in 1978. I think they had good intentions to help protect us against foreign trouble. And then it turned inwards, I guess, around 9/11, and they started focusing on us. And it's a kangaroo court, basically. And I've had my telepathy bring up FISA court, and I'm like, well, that's not a real court. And they said, well, it is to us. So continue.
Yeah, what it was basically set up exactly like that. The last time it's been renewed has been in 2018. It allows intelligence agencies to obtain online communications of foreign nationals without a warrant. And so they're finding that there is just broad misuse. There's up to 10,000, employees that have access to all of this information, and that the FISA applications are, quote unquote, inaccurate, incomplete, and unsupported by appropriate documentation. So I really believe that this is the issue for those of us who are on this list, all of us on this list, tying into, of course, the directed energy weapons and other things that they do by being on this list. We need to pry open this list immediately. And so these, special committees that are being set up regarding this, the surveillance of the government, I believe that we need to push forth and try to get up, a church committee, which, of course, was set up in 1975. It was a select Senate committee that investigated abuses by the CIA, FBI, NSA, and also, I forgot about them, the IRS. And so Senator Frank Church of Idaho set this up, and it revealed the COINTELPRO operation that was sort of infiltrating all these organizations. And I wrote this down because I wanted to see if this sounded familiar to anyone. Their tactics included intense surveillance, organizational infiltration, anonymous mailings, and police harassment. And obviously, all of those are being put on us. And so moving forward, there was a break into one of the FBI offices, and they stole some documents that revealed this program. And so then they demanded a church committee. It's after a name of a senator. It's a Senate select subcommittee. And so that's what we need to call for. It's easy, most people know it by a church committee, but it's really a Senate select subcommittee that we need to demand. And the House Judiciary would be where we would go for some of these requests. So again, if you have any of these representatives that are speaking out against these things, definitely write to them. I believe that if we can get our own subcommittee on this, specifically with the targeted individuals and the NSA NIS list, that this is where we can get this to stop. So this is good news for targeted individuals this year in 2023 regarding all of these issues are all tied together.
Incredible.
Well, we do have two subcommittees. One on the Appropriations Subcommittee on Crime and Federal Government Surveillance with Matt Gaetz, and he's also on the Weaponized the Federal Government Agencies. He just spoke out on Twitter about DOJ, the General Inspector, the FBI, admits that 3.4 million warrantless back searches have been conducted. So they're trying to bring this stuff out in the open. And he's in Florida, Matt Gaetz is. And then there also was Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch that just also chimed in this last week on the backdoor government, warrantless back searches. And
yes, definitely. There's
probably 10,000 people that have access to perform these types of searches, and that's what Matt Gaetz confronted I forgot his name now. But he confronted somebody on the subcommittee. So the DOJ General Inspector, I forgot his name. There's like a 3-minute video on Twitter.
Yeah, it's coming up in a lot of different committees. Some of these things where, this one that I had spoken about before was actually in like an appropriations committee. So this is a hot button issue. It's coming up in all of these committees. The committee that would most likely be able to take action is going to be, of course, I mean, the one that's going on right now for the weaponization of the government, of course. But to me, I think we need a new...
both of them. That's what I'm saying. He's on both subcommittees.
Okay, Matt Gaetz.
Yes.
Matt Gaetz. Yes, there are a few people that I just want to make mention to that I wrote down, and Matt Gaetz is on that list. He is sort of a little bit on the forefront of this surveillance stuff. And then right now, the chairman of the Crime and Federal Government Surveillance Subcommittee right now is Andy Biggs from Arizona. And then the other co-chair is Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas. And Matt Gaetz is on this committee as well. Let me see if there's anyone in here that's worth mentioning. California people, there's another one that's Mike Garcia, a Republican from California. He is the one standing up and saying this will not pass without repent and remedy. And it says from the government, they must educate lawmakers, confess past abuses, and then they must make changes. And so there are some people that they're not playing anymore. So I do believe, and I know it's theater, and it is, but the fact that this is getting brought up in every single committee, I think people have had enough, because it's going both parties. It's going to innocent people. This is a way overreach of power, and it doesn't sit well with anyone.
Yeah, and that's what that article and tweet said. It's 3.4 million individuals.
Wow. That's how many queries have been done?
Wow.
Yeah, warrantless fact searches is what they were calling them. Yeah, somebody knows how to do Twitter. If Chris could do that little 3-minute speech, it is good. I don't know how to use Twitter. I just found it a different way.
And who was that spoke on that?
Matt Gaetz.
Oh, Matt Gaetz.
G-A-E-T-Z. But I mean, it would be a nice thing for everybody to hear. It's just a real short video, 3 minutes.
Yeah, I don't have that ability on this computer.
Okay.
Well, you're listening to TargetedWest.com. We've got Shiloh Taylor here, and we're discussing the FISA drama that's going on right now.
And the good news is that this looks like without reform, it will expire at the end of the year. There are not enough votes at this point, from what I understand, to renew it as is.
That's
so
good news.
They are now, yeah, it definitely is good news, and that it's time to try to demand our own subcommittee, or even if it's just, because this is not the only program that they're overreaching. It's just a large spider web of overreach. And so if we can just get a general subcommittee, select subcommittee to push forth on the abuses of the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and let's not forget the IRS, like they had in the Church Committee.
Yeah, may I make a quick comment that while Jim Jordan was interviewing Matt Taibbi, the IRS went to his house and harassed him and said that you need to call us quickly in 4 days because your tax return was scammed in 2021. So they were trying to scare him. They literally went to his house.
Yes, and that is unheard of, because I've dealt with the IRS.
Me too. They don't go to your house like
congressional office. No, not at all. That was
a red flag. I saw that. I said, "Oh, we're digging deep. That we're really got them crazy."
Well, they've vowed to, or they've put in policy in place to add 85,000 new IRS agents that are supposed to be out there, but they put them under where they have power to carry a gun, which was much to my astonishment. Like the what is the enforcement? They put it into IRS enforcement, and those people carry guns the same as the ATF and the others, and they go in and they raid companies and they do different things. And when that first passed, that went with the Inflation Act, which had nothing to do with inflation. It was all green energy credits, which I'm not against those, but that has nothing to do with inflation. And then they put that in there. So that's coming up. So that's definitely going to be abused.
And they're going to go after lower income people too, from what I heard.
Absolutely. There's too many of them. They're doubling the IRS currently.
Which was supposed to be 1 year in 1913, but never went away.
Exactly.
Yeah, IRS was supposed to be
putting it all into enforcement and then not changing the tax laws. It's not a good situation. And then if you've seen they put out because enforcement literally carries a gun, and it's like an enforcement, it's police. And they put out the job description for it. You must be able to, do all this cop stuff. And it's an IRS agent.
So they're militarizing the federal government.
Yes, for money. The money piece of it.
So you're going to have somebody with a gun up to your head wanting their fucking money.
Yep, exactly.
Screwed out bad. Excuse my French, but could you imagine having IRS agents going through your books with a gun on your head? With IRS agents, this is getting weird. That is strange. And these different agencies of the government a few years back ordered hollow point bullets. What are those for? And I'm sure the IRS got some of those, didn't they?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there was none in stock. Funny, not funny, but
yeah.
So
the government is weaponized as they're trying to expose this. It's right there in front of everybody's nose, but it needs to be exposed.
And they continually are giving the executive branch more enforcement powers. Now they're going to give all of this. The RESTRICT Act is under the Commerce. Commerce is now cops. Like, it's really frightening. This is not just in one area. They are trying to police up every administrative office that we have.
Well, this is my opinion. It's just an opinion, but mine was one of the 22 million names stolen by the Chinese. And they stole all the names out of the executive branch. And I can't prove it, but I feel they have silently taken over parts of our government with this AI equipment, and they go after people that want to fight, certain things in politics. And then, there's a lot of people that we lost too, since they stolen their names. Supposedly they ended up catching them, and then they deleted all our records. But I don't trust China. They deleted all 22 million of OPM records, and they were active and inactive, out of the whole executive branch.
And OPM for everybody listening is Office of Personnel Management in the government.
Correct.
Yes, and I actually have been trying to get some information on my retirement.
Everything.
I thought that was the
wow.
Management and Budget. Hi, it's Laura, Colorado. I thought that was the Office of Management and Budget, OMB number.
No. OPM is Office of Personnel Management. You can look it up.
Okay.
But when Office of Personnel Management, anybody that had a background investigation, it has your social security numbers, your life insurance, your family. They usually, depending on what type of level background you had to get to work for them anywhere, between the 10, 15
It's the
years
HR department.
of where you lived and your relatives, yes, HR. But then
Yeah,
that's your
it's
background
everything.
investigation.
Well,
It's
I just
everything.
like to say-
Beneficiaries
You got
on your
fingerprints, everything.
retirement.
You get fingerprints
Yep.
work for the government too.
And the OMB
like
does
to
your
say-
checks and stuff and your benefits.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. They cut the checks, but yeah, OPM is the official HR.
Cool. I would just like to say that
Right,
all,
human resources.
yeah, all the things you described have happened to me over the years. All the, the sabotage with the mail and all the things you described have happened. So yeah, I can verify that that's happened to me. All the things you've mentioned.
Can anybody say hi?
I do.
Jackie. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Chris.
We've got Shiloh Taylor on, and her website, by the way, is shilohtaylor.com. If you guys want to check her out, she's a longtime Congress person, part of the support group there, a staffer, and she is an entertainer, and she's a commentator, and she does a very good job. So we're very grateful to have her on tonight. So the FISA drama continues. And if we get the FISA court to go away, do you think the targeting will go away, or do you think it'll be transferred to a different department?
I think they're going to keep it secret if we don't get our own targeted subcommittee specifically for the NSA NIS list, and at least the overreach of the FBI, CIA, NSA, now including the IRS.
Absolutely incredible. Huh. So the government's becoming weaponized. The police departments are becoming militarized. And are they expecting something that we don't know about?
Well, if you've been following any of the financial stuff, there's the BRIC stuff that's coming along, and it's not, not to be an alarmist, but we're due to beat, the dollar being the exchange is going to be taken from us by Brazil, India, the Saudi Arabia. They're banding together to basically they're going to take the dollar away from us, which is due to our the way that we run our country. So that's not going to be great for our economy and for the Federal Reserve. And so I just predict that they are going to just ramp up the war machine because they don't have any other option than to kind of wage war against anyone who's going to try to take away their dollar. And so I'm really, not trying to be an alarmist, but I do think there's a lot more things going on with the United States government than we're aware of, and that we just, if anyone's following that other piece, which doesn't necessarily have to do with targeted individuals. However, the central banking and some of this other stuff ties together because, as we all know, we are financially abused.
Digital banking's coming, digital currency,
yes.
Central bank, CBDC.
And if we were on all cash, I certainly would not have the targeted individual problems that I do with my banking and digital currencies already.
Which a lot of people have.
They're easily able to harm targeted individuals financially with the digital systems we already have.
Shiloh, were you aware of Jocelyn Lasky, a former GAO attorney? Because she said, in 2014, 15, she was in Bloomberg Magazine and a couple other publications and talk shows. But what she was saying about the FISA court, that it's totally illegal. Now, that's the Government Accountability Office lawyer. And she was saying the reason the FISA court is unconstitutional is because we only have 2 judges on there, and they only oversee it, and they can make recommendations. So the way the FISA court system's set up is totally illegal. And then, like, if you had read her Bloomberg article in 2014 or 15, she even sounded like a targeted individual because she ended up losing her job and everything, speaking out. But there was a bunch of lawyers that stuck up for her too, and then all of them just like disappeared into the background.
It really is completely unconstitutional. It's just that now they have just been abusing it. What started out, it always starts out as like a tool that makes sense. We're also like, okay, we've got to deal with this because not everything in the world is perfect. There are, things that we have to be aware of. And then they take it to a whole other level. You give them an inch, they take a mile. And so the good thing is that because there is no oversight of these, I think that's where we're going to be able to, that's what Congress people are currently the most angry about, is that what you're talking about with two judges and the abuses of it, and it's not being run in a way that there is any checks and balances, and then it doesn't follow any due process, so it's unconstitutional immediately. Illegal search and seizure
because they recommendations. That's the biggest problem. The judges don't even have any say-so. All they can do is make a recommendation. They have no control over it whatsoever.
I think they're tied together. I mean, the U.S. government is notorious for doing different things. Like if you follow immigration, it goes through 3 different branches and 3 different, areas of the government. So they intertwine these together. And so the NIS-NSA list is fed by the FISA courts and continually renewed these warrant lists. They keep renewing it on people, but they're tied together. But to get to them, we have to go through both. Like we have to go through the NSA, and we're going to have to go to every single piece of the government that has their fingers in this. This is why it's complicated with them, is because they feed the list. You've been put on the list, but they only got you on the list because of these FISA courts and continue to be able to harass you because they have some kind of probable cause. Well, they're finding that in all of these files that they're not following protocol. Like these are not things they needed to be surveilling people for years. They never close the cases. They never do, and there's no accountability to them. They do what they want to, and look what it's done. I mean, now how many people? They're saying 6 million worldwide. With, because this was specifically set up for foreign stuff initially.
Well, 3.4 million are Americans. That's what they just said on 2 of the talk shows I listened to, Judicial Watch, and then the short little clip with Matt Gaetz.
Well, it's sort of like anyone with any kind of vendetta against anyone just puts them, gets their name in the system, and then you can't ever get out. And then it's top secret, and you can't ever get the information about yourself.
May I add something? Sorry to cut you, ladies. My name is Veronique. I'm calling from France. And I have read on a very good article that in 2021 alone, the global BCI market was around 1.52 billion in 2021 in terms of market cap. Can you understand that this is business? In fact, they are doing business in our health data. That's the former congressional staff was explaining, in fact, no? Am I right?
For the foreign FISA, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act? Is that what you meant?
Yes, not only in the investment, global investment in BCI technology is expanding in the field always in advance, like 59,000 publications and 10,000 patents only in 2021, 2 years ago, I mean. Can you understand my poor English? Sorry. I read this on the RAND blog, and they are talking about the market cap that it represents the health data, and that's exactly what you were saying, because they are always trying to make you to trick you, even with your means, with your goods, with everything, your account. You were talking about also cryptocurrencies.
Yes, exactly. All of the.
I mean, I wanted to point out that it's a big market. That how health data, in fact.
Oh yes.
A woman was saying that also to China. I don't know. Like Big Brother,
yeah, it's
Incorporated,
Yeah, definitely the currencies are playing a huge part in this, and that the United States potentially losing its dollar power is, yeah. And then I'm going to have to check into this DCI Technologies that you mentioned. You said you saw this on Rand's blog, Rand Paul?
Yes, madam. And
Okay.
ethical aspect of brain-computer interfaces. It's a scooping review. I read also on BMC Medical Ethics. It's not only unconstitutional as a woman. I cannot remember her name. She's very well known. She always attempting to conference. I don't know her name, this lady. But that's what she said. She explained the action of Madame Toledo, the General Attorney, trying to make it unconstitutional regarding the Department of Defense that is working with the help of the FBI that do not do its job, in fact. That's why she wanted to address an attack to point out the fact that it is unconstitutional. I'm very sorry for my poor English again.
Yes, exactly. And it is tied to the Department of Defense. Then there's another one of these webs that goes after it's then through the DOD. Once you're on this list and you're being renewed, then it goes to the DOD for these other things that obviously are these human experimentation of their war guns.
But don't you think, Madam, may I ask you that with the U.S. whistleblower, they were having one previously, I don't know how many years ago, that has denounced all these targeted individual technologies in terms of businesses to the SEC, Security Exchanges Commission, that works very closer with the U.S. whistleblower. Because I have already lodged quite 6 complaints to them, but they don't move.
The SEC is something that actually, going with the RESTRICT Act, is something that we need to worry about with the RESTRICT Act as well. Just wanted to add that in there with their abilities to go in and just break up companies.
Data. They are doing trading with our health data. That's why it's furthermore unconstitutional and not ethical. May I add?
So you're saying that it's gone into the corporate people are now participating?
Yes. And me, furthermore, I'm living 10 minutes far from Geneva, Switzerland border, where there are a lot of Russian spies that have a complete free field to operate without any explanation to their hierarchy. So it's very well known, even the good channel, a Germano-French channel called Arte, and did a lot of documentaries about that we've got all the Russian spies and oligarchs that are making laundry money in Switzerland, here 10 minutes far from my house, but it's in France. I'm living near the border. Sorry. And this is we have many aspects to lodge some complaints and react to counter their acts. So that's why I'm asking you, can we use both the SEC denouncing this non-ethical and very huge market cap in terms of trafficking, human trafficking, about our health data, which is a big business?
And I'm not sure if the Securities and Exchange is the right one to do that. They would deal more with issues of misuse of trading, or when they do those backdoor deals and they've price fix and they do stuff like that. And I believe the NATO companies, the NATO countries, and companies, I guess, NATO companies are the reason why that all of these NATO countries that are our allies, like, gives us this exclusive ability, number one, with this FISA courts, because it's supposed to be for foreign people, and then NATO, the Department of Defense, is saying, well, they're our buddies, so we have this right to not only spy on them, but then we have a right to, because they're a foreign national, to do these things. So I think that's why there is, they're doing it to their own citizens, but if there's 6 million around the world, they're doing it to a lot more of the world.
Okay.
And so I personally go ahead.
Hi, this is Lauren. Hi, DJ Chris.
Hello, come on in.
How you doing?
I'm good. Come on in. We got Shiloh Taylor in for us tonight.
Hi, Shiloh.
Hi, good to hear from you.
You too. I'm wondering, the UN has declared June the 26th, I believe, as Stop Torture Day. Well, that should be every day if you ask me. What information do you have on where we are with the UN stopping these crimes? Because it just seems to me that it's, nothing is being done in our favor. And all of these countries, including the United States, it's being targeted. I mean, from every which way to loose. It's just, what do we have the UN for? I know that's a big question.
To be honest,
yeah. I think you got cut off from being too honest.
Oh,
hello?
Oh, I thought that it was saying that was funny timing.
That was trippy. Well, she'll be right back. They probably cut her off because we're talking deep subjects. I was on Roy's call earlier, and they bumped me off.
Oh, it bumped you off?
I've been getting cut off all day. I'm not shocked at all. And actually,
that was just funny timing. It said your input was invalid, and then it kicked you.
It must have been pretty good, though. Go ahead.
Exactly. It was right on the money. That's why they had to boot you.
That happened to me earlier. Yes, I mentioned something, and they booted us. Yes.
Yep.
Hello?
It's happened about 5
this
times
is
today. Yeah. But go ahead. I'll allow you to speak.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of faith in the UN just because the United States has veto power for anything that ever goes against anyone and the people, our allies. We don't hold ourselves or many countries responsible for the things that we do by veto power. And so I'm not sure necessarily the UN is not, we need to have something like a united, a world court for governments that are not, not towing the line. However, when we just veto our own self, then that's where it goes. I mean, it's good to bring it out in the open, I guess. There is the publicity of it, that we don't want to torture people and we need to remind people that it's happening. And it's just, to me, it's treasonous. All of this stuff is treasonous. But I don't have an answer for the UN because I don't have a great opinion of the UN.
The UN United Nations in the resolution 2001/62, the UN Commission on Human Rights called all governments on take appropriate, effective legislative, administrative, judicial, in other measures to prevent and prohibition the production, trade, export, and use of equipment which is specifically designed to inflict torture or other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. So about according to that resolution, we can act something. And there is the Dr. Alice Edwards, on the rapporteur on torture at the United Nations, that is making like a big inquiry, survey. And I will fill out her form, in order to denounce, as you said, as well as you said, we have only the capacity to denounce as much as we can to make people know about it. And especially those organizations who are supposed to do the job.
Thank you for commentary. Hello, come on in.
Hi, my name is Angela, and I had a really awful experience last weekend, and I want to see if any other targets have experienced this and what I could do next time. Where I went off last weekend real bad, but it wasn't even me. It's like somebody came into my body and was controlling my mouth, and they had me saying racial slurs and everything, and I'm not a racial person. And it's like now I'm stuck with this, and I don't even want to walk outside my house anymore. And I'm just wondering, has anybody else had this where they felt like somebody was totally controlling their mouth?
Yes, I've had forced speech before, very early on. So what I do...
That to me too.
Yeah, try to focus, and somebody gave me an idea of wearing a piece of jewelry. Remind you of who you are. If you have a piece of jewelry that you can wear or something. Sometimes I've been known to actually bite my tongue.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think they're doing that to Kamala Harris.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a lot easier for me to control now. Yeah, it's something I have to work on. It's a lot easier for me to control now.
Yeah, I'm aware Katie
Yeah.
She's also having forced speech. Yeah, I know one other person that does have forced speech.
Yeah, that was like the lowest thing yet that they've done in my targeting. They've done a lot of fucked up shit, but to make something like that come out of my mouth, it goes against everything that I believe in. And I have people of color that live around me that heard that, and that's quite fucked up and offensive, And it's like I don't know how to handle the situation because I don't want that to ever happen again.
I've seen it on camera, actually. They've done it to some newscasters, and I personally believe that Kamala Harris, they're doing that to her now. She's a completely different person than she used to be.
Wow.
In the way that she speaks and everything.
Yeah, they've done forced speech on me before, so they can do it. There's no doubt about it. It's scary.
I believe the same thing is being done with President Biden. He just seems just so not present. I don't know who all feels that way.
That's because he's old. He's getting old.
Yeah, he's not all there.
He looks like he's always spaced out to me.
I think he's got dementia.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that either.
Shiloh, tell us about the amount of people in Senate that are on dementia pills.
I thought it was like 8 people in the Senate are on, dementia, which obviously Feinstein is one of them.
For sure.
I think Biden. There's a lot of them. Chuck Grassley is really old. It's really, they're just so much older than the rest of us, and it's just they've been in there for so long. We need to get some new people in there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I agree.
Shiloh, what is your what is the best suggestion right now for targeted individuals to try to get as close to getting some type of resolve? I have personally written a letter to Jim Jordan, and I don't know. I sent with receipt, but I don't know if he received it. And quite a few. I made a generic letter, and I passed it around, and quite a few people, used that letter and wrote into him as well. I recently was on a call a couple nights ago where I heard somebody say that he is not going to represent us as citizens as far as trying to get us any help. Do you know anything about that? And what is your suggestion?
I heard that was a crazy lady. Yeah, the crazy lady that was crying and yelling, "Don't listen to her." That was a rumor. I heard that 2 days ago. Now I heard the lady.
I'm sorry. Who's not going to help us?
Yeah,
who are they referring to?
We will find a way to get help. Don't worry about it. And if Jim Jordan can do it, he can. If not, we can find other people. Because Shiloh and I were talking about having a subcommittee and starting something to where they can investigate all this, including the FISA court, so we can have freedom, hopefully.
And there's
I think that we.
Sorry, there's enough people now I see working on it just all over the country. I mean, you see little sprouts coming up, people speaking out. So you believe statute, Krista, we can get there.
So I don't know. I've been shot. Let me just say really quickly, I've been shot 5 times in one leg, and I have 15 holes from gunshot between 2. You know, I know this was a part of my being targeted. I have lost 3 family members who I also know it was a part of my and them being targeted. If there is a subcommittee that's being started or headed up, please consider me, because I have a story to tell, and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I did want to ask you, how long have you been targeted?
I've been targeted since 2002.
No, it was Shiloh. That was for Shiloh.
2016.
And do you think it was because you served as a congressional leader?
Yes, and then my story's a little bit more complicated, where I also spoke out in 2016. I was involved. I worked for the House of Representatives on the official side, which is a lot of paper pushing and, you know, all of this type of stuff we're talking about. And then I also worked in campaign. And so campaign is where it gets ugly, and that's the DNC and the DCCC. And I was a delegate and the 2016 election at that time within the Democratic Party. If anyone was a Democrat at that time or remembers how awful the campaign between Hillary and Bernie was, and how the Democrats basically came after their own and ate the Bernie people as well as Bernie himself. And so I started to speak out about what was going on within the Democratic Party, because I was friends with or was part of the insiders of the group of the people who ran the Democratic Party in New Mexico at that time. So I had a bunch of insider information, which has now come out, but it wasn't at the time, about how they were cheating against Bernie. And I was pretty furious about it. And so I started to really speak out, and I pissed off everyone. And then I also pissed off everyone by taking I got asked to put my hat in the ring for the campaign manager for the presidential election for New Mexico for Gary Johnson at the time. And so I did not get the position, but I was then at that point was blacklisted, and at the time they were calling the Bernie delegates terrorist cells. And so I believe that I might not be alone with the people who were put on this targeted list in 2016, but it specifically was because of the Hillary campaign and the delegates, and like it really got just very ugly within the Democratic Party. And I believe that at the person who would have made the leap to put me on that list would have been Hillary herself, since she was going after internal Democrats at that time, including Seth Rich, which I spoke out about him. If anyone remembers, he was the one that was shot in the back of the head in D.C. He supposedly gave the emails to Assange, and they killed him. And so I started to say, if anything happens to me, you know, like I pissed them off. So I really was outspoken and not nice. And I also was, you know, a little bit I was willing to fight with public figures publicly, and it didn't go over well.
Interesting. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, well, I was just wondering what were some of the things that let you know that you were in fact being targeted. And I'm sorry, I
was immediately started gang stalked by people that I knew. It started out with a bunch of attorneys and Democrats, and it was very obvious, and they hacked into my stuff. So mine was a lot of the hacking, the surveillance, the following me, the scaring me. I was afraid for my life. I left New Mexico afraid for my life. They made a lot of veiled death threats. They had this, they run people off the road. They do lots of different things. I was really afraid, so I left for Oregon and made my way. There's also a cannabis license involved in here. I applied for a nonprofit cannabis license at the time, and I didn't get it, even though it was expected, and they gave it to a corrupt sheriff. And so I was again speaking out against this corrupt sheriff, and so I was persona non grata because of the things that I was telling about their corruption. So
that's interesting. My friend Laura, my sister from another mister, has a cannabis thingy license.
Yes, I do. I'm very interested in this. I ran kind of out of the cannabis industry as well for the same reason, girlfriend. Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Oh, they're involved.
Yeah,
they're involved in the gang stalking piece. Yes, they are.
And they actually, in the end, I hung in there for 2 months. I was trying to prove myself. They were looking through trash I threw away. They were constantly mean to me. He actually took the bud out of my hand that I was trimming, and they ran me out of there. He made me cry all the way out. Wouldn't even let me get my trimmers. It was an awful thing, but I tried anyway. I gave it my go, and I'm still gonna try to get in somewhere. But that's interesting that you tried and you were expected to get the. Geez, that's so frustrating. It is frustrating. Here in Colorado, I have a lot of options, and so I'm still hopeful. But
I was. Yeah. I tried in Colorado as well. I tried in a couple different states. I raised some money here in California. I found the cannabis industry is definitely involved in this because corporate people can buy into the fusion centers and into the gang stalking piece of this pretty inexpensively. Yeah. And so the 100%, the cannabis celebrities and the old cannabis corporate celebrities, if I'm not naming any names at this point until I find protection, but they're doing price. There's collusion going on, price fixing, a lot of different things with the growers. Here in California, I found it working as a financial controller, and they came after me. And so right at this point, there's a lot of stuff that goes on here with the cannabis people specifically into because they started out an illegal organization already. And so they already have one foot in this, illegal stalking, and they, all of these things that they've been doing this forever, and they're not going to stop, or at least at this point they aren't. But it's very difficult to get in there, and they will hack you, and they will stalk you, and they will force you out.
Yeah, I mean, and they did all that, and I'm still going to try again. I know maybe I'm just too hopeful or naive, but there's a couple good companies still here in Colorado that have been around for a while, so I'll just keep sending in my resumes, hope for the best. Maybe I'll try something like you did, but and apply for my own. What did you apply for again? You applied for a non-profit as a business? You didn't. Yeah,
the nonprofit. New Mexico has since legalized recreational, but at the time they were, one of the first medical, and it was a big license. It was, it cost a lot of money just to apply, and so it was very highly competitive and not based on merit. And that's,
there's a couple companies here that are still good, that are still high quality. So I'm hoping to get hired on there. But bless you for trying. I know they're really they've moved in and they've been doing this for 20 years in Colorado, so they know their streets, they know their towns, and it's hard to get into that industry. But wow,
the barriers to entry are very high. In Colorado, there's only 4 owners of all of it. Colorado's not diversified. But, they were the first one, so you got to give Colorado credit for that.
I thought you guys were the first. I thought California was the first. Were we the first?
The first recreational was Colorado and Washington.
Huh. I did not know that.
We were the first medical in 96, 215.
Yeah, California's always paved the way, but they waited a little longer to muck up their legislation before they passed it legally or recreationally.
And earlier today, I talked to some people in Roy's call, and they were talking about the overtaxation of medical marijuana and marijuana for recreational use in California. It's ruining the business. And they're not only taxing us, they're taxing the growers, too. And they're not getting the same
they tax
amount.
Everyone. It's triple taxed. By the time it hits the consumer, it's triple tax.
The tax is based on the old over hyperinflated amount. Now, since everything's competitive and low, the tax is too high, and they won't listen. And now it looks like San Francisco's almost empty. Everybody's leaving. LA's a mess, and I don't know where the money's going to come from to keep the state going. And I guess we're just going to take it out on the marijuana people. And then you got the federal government who has a government who never rescheduled the cannabis. It's still up there with heroin and stuff, which is wild. But anyway, you're listening to DJ Krista at TargetedWest.com. We've got Laura, and we've got Shiloh Taylor, and her website is ShilohTaylor.com, and she has more information about cannabis because that's her specialty. Keep going, guys. You got about 4 minutes more on the recording, and then we'll go free for all.
Virginia was actually the first medical marijuana state, except they passed it back in the 50s. They never really did anything with it.
I did not know that.
I was lectured that by a lawyer a couple of years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some deadhead lawyer told me that.
Interesting, because that wouldn't have only been 20 years after when they legally, the poor farmer that went down for it first.
They said they did in the 50s because I asked if it was in the 60s. He was like, no, they did in the 50s. But because of the Schedule 2 that Chris just said, the federal laws, they never did anything to fruition because of the threat. And this is years after the tax stamp. There was that tax stamp law where you could grow back in the 30s.
Yeah, 37, yeah. Asslinger went in front of the whole government system, and guess who was paying for it? It was William Randolph Hearst, because they didn't want people investing in hemp paper because they just bought a whole bunch of trees for the paper for the newspapers, and that was literally, and they also thought the Hispanic people were taking jobs, and that's how they came up with that.
Yes, and oil and petroleum also was behind that, a big lobby.
Yes, correct.
There's always a bunch of money reasons behind things. Hello?
Come on in. We're talking about cannabis and targeting on TargetedWest.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube or BitChute or Archive, click like, subscribe, and comment, please. Go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, come on in.
Okay, hi. I just have a question. It might be for you. On Thursday, I was on a call with Anna Toledo, and we were talking about, about the lawyer, will we be able to get a lawyer after the lawsuit when what she's working on. But that's not what I want to ask you. After that, come Friday, I had an incident where they came in my home and they did something with the electrical where I can't get my refrigerator and my stove working. The light come on, but I can't get that to work. What do you think the issue may be with that? Did they use their direct energy or what? Because I can't get the stove working, I can't get my refrigerator working, and I can't get my microwave working.
Have you called a landlord or the repairman?
Well, I own my own home.
Oh, that's expensive. That's weird. Well, you probably need to call an electrician because your circuit went out and someone could have messed with it.
That's what I'm thinking, because I went down there and did a switch, and it didn't bring it back on, and I bought one of those testers, and it didn't even light up. I plugged it in the socket, and it didn't even light up. So I was just wondering, could they damaged it or what happened? Because it was okay.
It's possible that they did, yeah, because that's your main area for eating and stuff, so they want to mess you up, and your refrigerator is probably on it too, and so.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're going to make you rot your food.
They hack the grid and torture us and make us like financially destitute, fixing all these things, and then
that's what they do.
I had a lot more.
Had it happen. By the way, thank you for. Hold on just a moment. Thank you for watching the video. Please check in next week. We'll have another show. So stay tuned, and we're going to end the recording now. Thank you.